Hola, buenos días, buen lunes y buena semana. Volvemos otra vez con un lunes más con las sesiones Los Lunes de CDTI-SOST desde la oficina SOST de CDTI en Bruselas. Y hoy vamos a hablar de los partenariados que están relacionados con la parte más industrial del clúster 4 de Horizon Europe. Para ello contaremos con la participación de nuestra compañera que ya está conectada, Nieves González, que es representante en el comité de programa justamente del clúster 4 de esta parte, industria, pero también la conoceréis porque es punto nacional de contacto para la parte de industria del clúster 4 desde CDTI Madrid. Contamos con tres invitados en la sesión de hoy que secuencialmente pues, realizarán sus presentaciones y podréis preguntarles. Y bueno, que serán primero Ángel Sorduña, que es secretaria general de la asociación Aspire, que representará o que está relacionada con el Partnership Processes for Europe. Después tendremos la intervención del señor Klaus Peter, Executive Director of Clean Steel Partnership. Y por último nos acompañará Chris de Cooper de la plataforma EFRA y que nos explicará un poco sobre el Partnership Made in Europe. Para los que os unís a nosotros hoy, pues recordar que en esta segunda temporada de Los Lunes de CDTI-SOST nos centraremos en dar una visión más profunda sobre los partenariados asociados a los clústeres del Pilar 2 de Horizon Europe. Estamos en la 9ª sesión de un conjunto de unos 10 webinarios. En principio, todas las sesiones temáticas acaban la semana que viene, con los partenariados relacionados con la parte de ICT del clúster 4. El registro normalmente está abierto hasta las 9 de la mañana del lunes correspondiente y todas las presentaciones, así como los vídeos, los podéis descargar después de la página de eventos de CDTI, así como los vídeos los encontraréis en la página de YouTube de CDTI. El objetivo principal de estas sesiones y de esta temporada es actualizar y mejorar el conocimiento sobre estas iniciativas paralelas a los clústeres en Horizon Europe, que son aproximadamente, representan el 50% del presupuesto de este pilar. Por lo tanto, es importante conocer a los actores de influencia, de capacidad de decisión, posicionarse mejor en estas iniciativas, mejorar nuestras acciones de lobby, por tanto nuestra participación, y con ello pues esperamos también que mejoremos nuestros resultados. Durante la sesión, como en todas las sesiones anteriores, vamos recogiendo preguntas a través, por favor, del chat de Questions and Answers. Y en este caso, pues secuencialmente las iremos lanzando a cada uno de nuestros invitados. Hoy, como veis, es la sesión número 9 del conjunto de 10 sesiones que tenemos preparadas, centradas sobre la parte de industria, y el próximo lunes 17 de julio hablaremos sobre los partenariados relacionados con la parte de ICT. Ya sin más y después de esta breve introducción me gustaría dar paso entonces a mi compañera Nieves González, pues que os hará una pequeña introducción de esta parte de industria dentro del clúster 4 y una visión de las diferentes iniciativas relacionadas. Gracias, Nieves.
Hola, buenos días a todos. Muchas gracias por vuestro interés en esta sesión sobre los partenariados del área de industria. Me gustaría confirmar que se ve bien la presentación y se me oye, sí, todo bien, ¿no? Muy bien. Bueno, simplemente voy a hacer una pequeña introducción al tema, ya que como tenemos 3 estupendos ponentes de cada uno de los partenariados, ellos os contarán en detalle. Simplemente me gusta empezar, como el programa Horizonte Europa es gigantesco, en realidad, me gusta empezar situando dónde estamos. Estaremos hablando del Pilar 2, de retos mundiales y competitividad industrial europea, dentro del cual, como sabéis, está organizado en clústeres, y el clúster 4 es el mayor en presupuesto. Es un clúster muy grande donde se engloban las áreas de digital, industria y espacio. El clúster 4 está estructurado en 6 destinations o destinos, de los cuales los 2 primeros son los que corresponden al área de industria, y los partenariados los vamos a encontrar en el destino 1, Climate Neutral, Circular and Digitized Production. Este destino tiene una muy fuerte contribución a conseguir los objetivos de la doble transición, de la Twin Transition, la transición digital y la transición verde. Y esto lo podemos ver reflejado en los Key Strategic Orientations, las orientaciones estratégicas clave. Este destino y por tanto los partenariados contribuyen en gran manera al tercero de estas orientaciones, conseguir que Europa sea el primer, que sea una economía sostenible, circular y climáticamente neutra, pero también contribuye a conseguir la autonomía estratégica abierta y a conseguir unos sectores y cadenas de valor fuertes basados en las Key Digital Emerging Technologies, es decir, en las tecnologías facilitadoras clave, como por ejemplo es la fabricación, que es uno de los temas de los que vamos a hablar, y también crear una sociedad más resiliente, inclusiva y democrática, también tiene una contribución a esta orientación. Vamos a hablar de 3 partenariados en concreto, de los partenariados Made in Europe, Processes for Planet y Clean Steel Partnership, del partenariado del acero limpio, que es nuevo en Horizonte Europa. Y simplemente recordaros que se trata de partenariados coprogramados. Dentro de los 3 tipos de partenariados que tenemos en Horizonte Europa, estos serían coprogramados. Esto quiere decir que se basan en un Memorandum of Understanding entre una asociación industrial y la Comisión Europea, y que además desde el punto de vista práctico los topics aparecen dentro de los programas de trabajo del clúster 4 y tienen las mismas reglas de participación, de evaluación, etcétera, o sea, sí que son muy fáciles de encontrar. Los topics que pertenecen a cada uno de los partenariados aparecen marcados en el título, diciendo este topic contribuye a tal partenariado. Y un par de comentarios simplemente sobre cuál es la participación de las entidades españolas en estos 3 partenariados. Tenemos una muy elevada participación en los 3 partenariados, sobre todo en Made in Europe y Processes for Planet, y además excelentes resultados en los años 2021 y 2022, bueno, lo que hemos tenido también en los partenariados anteriores, que eran Factories of the Future y Aspire, pero en estos 2 últimos años hemos conseguido ser el primer país en retorno en estos 2 partenariados. En Clean Steel tenemos unos resultados un poquito inferiores, pero también bastante buenos. Comentar que la convocatoria 2023 está aún en evaluación, esperamos resultados para finales de julio, si hay alguna persona que está en el público esperando estos resultados, y en 2024 tendremos nuevas oportunidades. Tenemos aproximadamente unos 100 millones de presupuestos para el partenariado Made in Europe, 150 para el partenariado Processes for Planet y unos 30 millones para Clean Steel. Y esta convocatoria abrirá en septiembre y cierra el 7 de febrero de 2024. Así que esto lo quería resaltar porque después del verano iremos todos con mucha prisa. Y simplemente pues recordaros quiénes somos el equipo que trabajamos en este área en CDTI. Somos por un lado mi compañero Carlos Toledo, que es punto nacional de contacto, y yo misma, Nieves González, que soy representante en el comité de programa del área de industria, del clúster 4. Y estamos a vuestra disposición para ayudaros tanto en el posicionamiento y a nivel estratégico como a la hora de presentar propuestas, solucionar vuestras dudas sobre los topics o asesoraros sobre vuestra idea de proyectos, si se encaja bien o de qué manera podéis mejorar vuestras propuestas. Y sin más, yo ya voy a dar paso al siguiente ponente.
Estupendo.
Muchas gracias.
Pues nada, Ángels, cuando quieras puedes empezar tu presentación y bueno, y explicar un poquito qué es Aspire también, claro.
Perfecto. Buenos días, muchas gracias a todos. Estoy abriendo la presentación, no sé si ya la podéis ver.
Sí, correcto. Se ve,
Vale,
se ve.
dejadme que la ponga en abierto. Ahora creo que podéis ver la pantalla completa, ¿correcto?
Ahora también vemos tus slides. Mejor que pongas abajo del todo, que pongas ver pantalla, el iconito que tienes abajo a tu derecha, igual.
Sí, pero es lo que he hecho y aún así no la veis,
Ya,
curioso. Dejadme
no,
que vuelva a
vemos.
empezar, perdonad por el
No pasa nada,
tema.
no pasa nada.
Dejadme
No
que
pasa
vuelva a
nada
empezar.
mientras.
Además cerraré cosas para que no se vea. Vamos a ver. A ver si ahora lo consigo. Aquí, este quiero enseñar. Share. ¿Qué pasa? No me deja. ¿Estáis viendo ahora la pantalla completa?
No,
¿Sí?
no,
¿No?
ahora vemos solo tus slides. Tendrías que bajar a la barra de abajo que tienes, ¿sí? En donde tienes...
Aquí,
ahí.
ya,
Sí,
pero es que
exacto.
ya lo he hecho y no os lo está
No,
enseñando.
no te deja.
No me
Bueno,
deja. Igual podéis mostrar vosotras la presentación.
sí, ya la muestro yo, ningún problema.
Vale,
Sí.
vale.
Será
Gracias, porque no sé por qué no lo hace.
No pasa nada, no pasa nada.
Ok,
Venga, pues ya hago yo.
pues hola a todo el mundo. Muchísimas gracias a CDTI por invitarme. Como entiendo que tenemos aquí a Klaus Peters y a Chris de Cuber que no entienden nada en español, probablemente pasaré al inglés, pero estaré encantada de resolver, si tenéis después alguna pregunta, contestaros también en español. So thanks again for inviting me, Nieves and Marina. It's a great pleasure for me. ASPIRE is an association that gathers the 10 sectors that you're seeing on the screen. So it's basically the energy-intensive industry sectors, including chemicals, including also steel, but also other smaller sectors of like pulp and paper, or like cement or ceramics or minerals, but then also two transversal sectors, which are water and engineering. And it's, could we move to the next slide? Thank you. So ASPIRE is a private party of a co-programmed partnership. So of course, the public party is the European Commission, led by DG RTD, and with the collaboration of DG Grow, though sometimes it's also DG Ener and DG Climate who collaborate with us. ASPIRE gathers companies from the 10 sectors, but also from, these are the 10 leading sectors, I would like to say. But then we also have companies from other sectors like IT, waste management. So companies from any other sector can also join. And then also research members, universities, NGOs, innovation agencies at regional level or at local level, clusters, industrial associations. So it's a great variety of the types of members. We are certainly a co-program partnership within Cluster 4. And we have signed an MOU with the Commission, and they have put 1.3 billion euros on the table exclusively for projects, for processes, for planet projects. We don't have any money from that, from the association, or everything is sustained, all our activities through membership fees. Next slide. Thank you. So, of course, all partnerships are requested to do a strategic research and innovation agenda, multi-annual one. And in our case, we defined 3 big challenges, and we identified 3 big challenges and 3 ambitions. So the first relates to the impact on climate, and the goal is to reduce, to drastically reduce the CO2 and GHG emissions by 2050. And so to move from this scenario of 750 million tons of CO2 equivalent emissions to climate neutrality. In terms of the second challenge is the linear use of resources that is pervading in the economy, and move from this linear use into a circular use of the resources that allows us to move from 2,500 million tons of waste currently to near zero landfilling. And then, of course, the third challenge relates to competitiveness. There's no clean energy, clean industry at all if it's not competitive, it will disappear. So we need to strive for the global competitiveness of the process industry, so to keep those jobs in the European Union. It represents around more than 20 million jobs that we influence directly or indirectly, these type of industries. So we have defined several innovation levers. The first one is industrial urban symbiosis. Aspire and the Horizon 2020 became very strong for industrial symbiosis, and now we have included the urban component because that's what is needed to really reach the near zero landfilling, right? And also near zero water discharge that you see is also part of the circularity ambition. Then process innovation is very important. We tackle all process innovation from a cross-sectorial perspective, so from problems or challenges that are common to the sectors, or solutions that sometimes can also be common or can be transferred from sector to sector. And here an important point is electrification. It's true that it can be very different from one sector to another. For example, aluminum sector is one of the sectors which has a higher degree of electrification, for example, but still all have some work to do there, especially when we consider the need of the energy mix. So to move from the fossil sources of energy to renewable or alternative sources of energy, including hydrogen, there need to be several innovations that allow for variable energy mix and a flexible energy mix, I would say, a long time. CCU is a very important point also, and in general, the efficiency and flexibility of the resources is a very important point also for process innovation. Digitalization is another important lever. We see it as a transversal lever and that will help accelerate the development of the rest of the technological innovations. Then the non-technological aspects are very important, especially in regards the competitiveness aspects, which will tackle both aspects related to market uptake, but also aspects related to skills, the attraction of talent, the new jobs of the future that will be needed. We have defined in the SRIA 14 innovation areas that you can see listed in the screen, and 36 innovation programs that are linked to the different innovation areas. And we have defined, can we go back yet to the first? Thank you. We have defined also the progress of that. Of course, the progress will depend on how able we all are to support and de-risk the needed innovations so that the industry can invest further for deployment. And finally, there are two important initiatives that we have because, as you know, Horizon Europe supports up to TRL 7, in some cases, maybe up to TRL 8, but that's not always like this. And but impact only happens when the technologies have been tested and proven at TRL 9, and not only technologically, but also the economic feasibility. So we have defined at the implementation level, the first-of-a-kind plans are an important initiative in our SRIA that cannot be supported through Horizon Europe, but at least the projects and the calls in Horizon Europe should help lead towards first-of-a-kind plans. And then we have defined these plans will be plans that will be very novel in the way they work. But since we have a very extensive industrial park in Europe, we also consider units within the existing plans that will help drastically reduce the emissions. And then we have the Hubs for Circularity initiative, which are based on where the impact is delivered. Next slide. Maybe you need to click 3 or 4 times because this is animated. Thank you. So basically, I will go a bit quick because the presentation is long, but I would like to enhance 2 important things here. In the goal of circularity, we have 2 important points. One is the upcycling, the need to upcycle all or most of the waste into the industrial system again to turn it into new materials. Of course, this has a limit, which is that not all materials, not all waste can be reintroduced or can be converted into secondary resources, because it cannot be disassembled or because it would generate any other major environmental harm. So to solve this for future, we also focus on the eco-design of the materials. So how these materials can be designed in a way that in the future there will be this real zero waste. So everything will be upcycled, or most of it will be upcyclable. So that's very important. The focus for us is on the process, how the processes need to be changed so that this eco-design is feasible. Can you click once? Thank you. This is more related to the climate ambition. So you see that there are a lot of aspects involved when it comes to climate ambition, but the most important thing is to develop these disruptive new processes towards the net zero CO2 emissions, and we consider that the process industries can set the pace toward this sustainable use of the energy, and a lot of innovations are needed there. But also you can see that it's not only new innovations for CO2, but also for the circularity also of the energy and of the CO2. Next. Yeah, it's animated, so okay, if you click once more. Thank you. These are just to enhance here 2 points on the first of a kind that we identified around 90, we call them marvels. It's kind of a metaphor. When we developed the SRIA, 90 marvels that it would be great to have in Europe to achieve these goals on climate neutrality. And this, in the case of the process industry, will require very high and long-term investments. So when we talk in our SRIA, we talk about around 33 billion needed to develop the innovations. But then to deploy the innovations, our sectors talk about hundreds of billions or even trillions to deploy all the innovations needed and to effectively implement the transition. One more click. Great. So this is about the hubs for circularity. I will explain this as briefly as I can, but it's important that for us, the innovation or the impact does not happen just because a project finishes, but it happens because a project the innovations of that project are implemented, and they can be implemented at different levels. But also it's important that we see the process industry as the hubs for circularity, the industries that are capable to reintroduce in the system bulk amounts of secondary resources into the system, avoiding landfilling. But then it's a systemic process. Yeah, if we want to reintroduce in the system urban waste, we need a community. We need the ecosystem of a given region or of a given area where the process industries are present. Yeah, so here in the hubs of circularity, we invite the communities to join, to identify what are the needs of those communities, of those regions. Many regions have also this goal of waste zero or waste zero region or climate zero region. So they need to identify what is needed for them to arrive there. And then they need to identify which are the investments, which need to come from the process industry or from other industries, from SMEs, or from the municipalities, from the regional governments, from the national governments. It's a co-investments framework that they need here to effectively deliver benefits to the society in that region. So what is within processes for planet on that? If you see at the bottom, you see an oval circle there where I signal the disruptive innovation and the knowledge sharing through the community of practice. So the role of Aspire is of the process industry is to deploy, to develop and deploy industrial urban symbiosis solutions, to deploy energy efficiency solutions, to deploy the types of solutions that are going to help reduce drastically the emissions and waste. But then, and they need to build them together. So they need to build this knowledge and these solutions for climate circularity and competitiveness. And for that also, we have the knowledge sharing, the community of practice. We have funded 2 projects through P4Planet funds that are building resources and tools to provide to the regions or areas that are aiming to become hubs of circularity. And of course, the hubs need to be connected to really have a real EU transition. They need to export innovations and import innovations. So they need to be in contact so that they learn mutually each other. One more slide. Yeah, this is a bit of a summary to make this distinction between what are the hubs, what is industrial urban symbiosis, what is circular economy. Circular economy, when we talk about circular economy, we talk about many facets. We talk about repair, reuse, refurbishing. All of this is very valuable, but the impact of repair, reuse, and refurbish is different to the impact of upcycling. And that's the focus of the hubs of circularity, really to create a huge impact on climate and the climate neutrality and on the waste zero through upcycling materials. And that's an important role of the process industry in Europe. Industrial urban symbiosis is part of it, but it's not all. Yeah. So a single project on industrial symbiosis or on industrial urban symbiosis will not solve it all, will be part of the solution. Yeah. The point is that the hubs become at a scale, that the solutions are widespread in a given territory. Next slide. These are examples of the topics of processes for planet for 2023, which are closed, but also for 2024, which will close on the 7th of February. It's for you to see some of the examples that we have. So we always have some call on the hubs of circularity. You see that in this case, all the topics are under twin transition. Now, in some cases, we also have topics under resilience. Yeah. Next. So what are we doing now? So our key activity this year is this update of the SRIA. You see that we have been working on it since January this year. So we are now quite advanced. Our working groups have provided a lot of input. The full community was invited on the 22nd of February and also provided a lot of input. And then the advisory group is shaping all this information. And now we are at the point in which we are setting all this information in 10 priorities that will be the relevant ones and that will guide us for the definition of the work program 2025-2027 of processes for planet. We aim at finalizing the SRIA update in October so that our board can approve it, and then we will showcase it in October also back-to-back R&I days to all the rest of the stakeholders. In the meantime, we have gathered the feedback of the different partnerships in a partnerships webinar in June, and we aim also at having a member states workshop organized with the Commission so that we gather the feedback of the member states before October. But the date needs to be confirmed by the Commission, so this is for us yet to be confirmed when this will take place. One more. These are the 10 priority themes. So you see that electrification keeps being a very important one, but then alternative carriers of energy and their integration, the further continuous improvement of energy and material efficiency. CCU keeps being the key. CCS is acknowledged. It's very important for some sectors, and it depends, for example, on the focus. It's only when some research and innovation is involved. Otherwise, if it relates to transport, for example, there's no need for funding and innovation on that. circular economy, technologies to upcycle impactful waste streams. So there is an important task ahead to see which are these impactful waste streams. The hubs for circularity as place-based innovation sites, technologies for resilience, considering also the energy crisis that will be very important right now, digitalization to accelerate the innovation, process industry 5.0 is again high on the agenda, very much linked to our non-technological innovation programs. And then we have the 10th one, making it happen. So what are the conditions of the calls, or what are other aspects that we need to discuss with the Commission so that we can accelerate the progress to the large scale deployment and the breakthrough innovation? I think, yeah. So this is the structure of Aspire. Marina, let me know if I'm finishing the timer and I need to speed up. So this is how Aspire is structured. You can see that, of course, we have a General Assembly, we have a Board of Directors where all the 10 sectors are represented. Also, the RTOs, the research members are represented also SMEs. And for sectors which are not one of the 10 sectors, it's directly the president who is representing them. Then we have an office that I lead. And then we have the advisory and programming group, which is led by a chair and 3 vice chairs. We have, you can see that we have 6 working groups, one on energy, another one on process optimization and CCU, another one on industrial urban symbiosis and hubs to circularity. Group number 4 is on resources and circularity, and groups number 6 and number 5 and number 6 relate to the competitiveness area. So one is focusing on framework conditions for the market uptake, and the other one is focusing on social innovation, so more skills, jobs, etc. They each have a group leader that are also part of the programming group, but then we have also 4 other leaders in the programming group which are focusing on the transversal aspects. One is clearly digitalization, another one portfolio, so they help us analyze how the portfolio of projects from Aspire and P4Planet is progressing. Foresight is an important team. They have developed a very good analysis on what are the trends that need to be considered also for the topics of the last 3 years. And collaborations is where we set a team to see how to collaborate more efficiently with other partnerships. So basically, this is how we work. If you can click once more, then we focus now on how we work at partnership level. Yeah. So at partnership level, we meet formally with the Commission at the partnership board. And then 5 members of the board of directors participate there, myself, and then 15 representatives from the APG also participate there. Here we talk about the SRIA, we talk about the topics, we talk about any other strategic or implementation action that is needed to implement the partnership properly, and successfully. And then we have also many other meetings. So, for example, when we need to discuss on the topics, for now, the next ones will be the topics of 2025 that we will start by the end of the year or early next year. Then we present a list, the Commission presents their list. In the end, we come up with a final list, and then we contribute to the content. Then they send it to the program committee, the members review it, and they send it back to us. So it's an iterative process in which a good number of people has a say until the topics are defined and settled, and then the Commission publishes them, and then we don't intervene at all in the selection of the projects anymore. This is the role and the work of the Commission. Yeah, next slide. So what is the benefit to be part of an association like Aspire? So first, it depends on what are your objectives. So there are a number of partnerships, as you can see. Today, 2 of the partnerships will be presented. I would say that depending on which part of the value chain you are focusing, you will be more interested in one partnership or the other, and that's natural. But what we see in our partnership what our sectors tell us is that the fact that all the sectors are together helps them to have a continuous dialogue on this, on where are the common knowledge, the common points and the common challenges and the common solutions that they could have. We are a channel to raise the voice of all our members, but then also the large industries sometimes find larger talent in the SMEs or in the RTOs. For example, many of our industries tell us they have a lack of talent in IT, but sometimes they find it in some of the SMEs or in some of the research organizations through the projects, and they help them to develop the innovations that they need. So that's very important. Our SMEs tell us that by having the roadmap, the SRIA, they understand what are their market opportunities better, and then they can fine-tune their strategies and the work they do. And in fact, what we discovered under Aspire is that the SMEs that join Aspire and P4Planet grow over the average of the EU in terms of the SMEs. And for the RTOs, clearly, it helps, being part of it helps them to have direct access to this applied innovation. It's true that they have it through other means, but also it helps them to understand better what the European process industries need, so they can also fine-tune or set their own strategies aligned with the industry, which is very important for them. I think, yeah, this is just an example of events that we will have in the second half of the year. On the 20th of September, we will have Processes for Planet Brokerage, which is only open to Aspire members. So this will be based on the topics of 2024. Any of our members can present topics, a pitch of projects that they want to present to the calls, or they can present a pitch saying, I'm interested in this topic and this is my expertise. You can identify me as one of your partners. Then they have the option to do some networking there. And then we have on the same day the Projects and Hubs of Circularity Forum, which is open to members and non-members, and this will allow us to understand how the new projects of Processes for Planet are moving forward. On the 26th of October, we plan the Process for Planet Stakeholders event. This is back-to-back. We do it in collaboration with the Commission, so they need to confirm whether it will be on the 26th, but the goal is to have it on back-to-back. There are 9 days. And on the 30th of November, we have the Hubs for Circularity workshop, organized in the framework of the Camelot Circularity event in the Netherlands. There will be a part which will be open to members and non-members, but there will be a part that will be open only to members. And we will have an impact panel. This is another of the panels we organize with the Commission, in which we discuss with funders from other other public funders, Innovation Fund, European Investment Bank, etc., on, okay, what do these industries need to reach TRL 9? Yeah, and what are the gaps? What are the support that is needed so that these funders take it on board to the extent they can? Yeah, so any new member that joins event during the second half will be able to participate in our events. And well, happy to answer any of your questions, or feel free to call me afterwards or to write to me afterwards.
Muchas gracias, Ángels. La verdad es que es impresionante también el número de actividades que hacéis, y es muy interesante que las hayas puesto para que así todos aquellos que estén, digamos, interesados no solo en la participación en la plataforma o asociación, sino también en la temática, pues puedan asistir, ya que muchos de estos eventos, como has dicho, son abiertos, ¿no? Y son públicos. Nieves, no sé si querías lanzarle alguna pregunta, solo decir que somos unas 35, 36. asistentes. Tía.
Sí, muchas gracias, Ángeles, sobre todo por la transparencia con todos los eventos, que son muchísimos, y donde había algunas primicias. Realmente va a ser un otoño muy intenso. Muchas cosas. Bueno, yo si no hay preguntas de la audiencia, que no
No las hay.
estoy viendo que no
Por el
hay.
momento no.
Tengo una pregunta que es común realmente a todos los partenariados, pero bueno, igual se las voy a hacer, la repito. Nos preguntan muchas veces si es necesario ser socio de la asociación para presentarse a las convocatorias.
No, no lo es. En ninguna de los casos de los Co-Program Partnerships no es necesario ser miembro de las asociaciones para presentarse a las convocatorias. Sí es cierto que si participáis en las asociaciones, si os unís a la comunidad, tenéis una ventaja competitiva. Más del 50% de las propuestas, de los proyectos subvencionados de Process for Planet están coordinados por miembros de Aspire. Aún así, somos una partnership muy abierta en la que participan muchos en nuestros proyectos, muchas empresas y muchas organizaciones que no son miembros de Aspire.
Claro.
Pero es verdad que participar en nuestros eventos y participar en nuestros grupos de trabajo os da un conocimiento directo, una capacidad de entender mejor las cosas más sutiles de las convocatorias que yo antes de venir aquí también fui consultora y a veces leías las convocatorias y decías aquí qué piden, ¿no? Exactamente. Yo quiero todo esto encaja mejor aquí, encaja mejor en aquella convocatoria. Claro, si estás dentro de las partnerships entiendes la convocatoria muchísimo mejor y entonces puedes hacer propuestas mucho más acertadas, ¿no? Con mayor calidad. Por otro lado, el participar en los brokerage también te da una puerta abierta a diferentes tipos de socios que a lo mejor no tendrías, ¿no? Las pymes siempre nos dicen, claro, si me viene alguien de BASF o si me viene alguien de ArcelorMittal al brokerage y puedo hablar con esta persona directamente, yo con esa empresa seguramente no tengo puerta de acceso si no es a través de venir a nuestras actividades de networking, ¿no? Yo creo que eso pasa en todas las partnerships. Por eso digo que es muy importante seleccionar a qué partnership quieres o a qué partnerships quieres unirte en función de tus objetivos.
¿Vale? Muy bien.
Claro.
Otra pregunta que tendría es de las 10 prioridades que nos has mencionado de cara a 2025-2027. ¿Hay alguna que señalarías como que vaya a tener un peso especial? Porque claro, son 10, algunas a lo mejor pesarán más que otras, o alguna que quieras destacar por su novedad, quizás.
A ver, yo creo que todas van a tener un peso importante. Probablemente todo lo que se refiere a electrificación y energy mix va a tener un peso mayor, ¿no? Aquí lo que estamos analizando ahora también estamos haciendo una especie de pequeño gap análisis en las convocatorias anteriores, qué temas se han priorizado y por tanto de qué tenemos más proyectos, ¿vale? Para ver exactamente qué es necesario. Está claro que el tema de clima es un tema muy importante, pero el tema de circularidad también. Por lo tanto, los hubs de circularidad van a ser también un tema muy importante, una prioridad muy importante. Y como novedad destacaría la Industry 5.0, no tanto porque no lo tuviéramos en cuenta, que yo creo que sí lo tuviéramos en cuenta, sino porque la Industry 5.0 nos ayuda a redondear temas que a lo mejor ya teníamos en nuestro SRIA, ¿no? Y la última para mí es muy importante, Making It Happen, para mí esa es muy importante, porque si hacemos proyectos que no conduzcan a que se pueda implementar, no hay transición, ¿vale? Con lo cual, proyectos a lo mejor más grandes en el marco de Horizonte Europa, proyectos que se acerquen ya a la implementación y que después veamos cuáles son los canales, sea el Innovation Fund o sean otros, para que las empresas puedan realmente llegar al punto de inversión. En algunos casos no son ni siquiera temas de financiación, en algunos casos son temas no tecnológicos y que no se refieren al dinero, se refieren a permisos, se refieren a la capacidad de poderlo implementar de manera rápida en función de una regulación y en función de la rapidez en adquirir ciertos permisos, por ejemplo.
Muy bien, muchas gracias por la respuesta, que creo que ha sido muy clara. No veo que haya preguntas de los participantes, no se están animando todavía. Os animamos a que nos pongáis las preguntas aquí en el chat, en el módulo de preguntas y respuestas. Y yo creo que podemos pasar a la siguiente presentación igual. Muchísimas gracias, Ángels, por tu participación y tus consejos.
Gracias a vosotros. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. And now we leave the floor to Klaus Peters. Klaus Peters is Executive Director of this Clean Steel Partnership, and yeah, he will give us an overview on this partnership and as well his association step. You know, that as we have seen previously, what are the interactions, the opportunities for networking, positioning, and for foresight on this subject, on the steel industry. Thanks a lot, Klaus.
Thank you very much. Good morning from my side, and also thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to introduce the Clean Steel Partnership to the Spanish community. And many of the information will build on the previous presentations. And of course, you are very welcome to raise later on questions or to contact me after the presentation. And I'd like to start with setting the scene, looking at the material demands, and in the middle you see the situation of steel. And we as the steel sector are fully convinced that the challenge is to decouple the growth demand for these important bulk materials, being the guarantee for the people's well-being and growth. And at the same time, of course, we are aware of the link to CO2 emission, and also the Clean Steel Partnership is existing to mitigate the CO2 emissions. And if we look into the main visions, we see that we like to go at CO2 emission reductions, always compared to 1990 levels, to be compliant with the overall monitoring and reporting. And it's really to develop high technology readiness levels to accelerate the transformation of the steel sector to achieve finally climate neutrality. And the main element to achieve climate neutrality is CO2 emission reduction by 80 to 95%. Only a minor part is done by compensation methods. And one important element is the energy provision. And we can see that if we go to renewable energies like wind or central solar power, we can see that these renewable energies are very steel intensive. So it's also that steel is a high emitter from the materials, but also a solution provider in regard to the decarbonization of industry. And the Clean Steel Partnership is a co-programmed partnership, as already said in the previous presentations. We have a memorandum of understanding signed by the public side to commissioners, and STEP board directors signed for the private side. We also have an underlying document, the Strategic Research Innovation Agenda. And this agenda is also under revision in a similar process Andres introduced to you. We have finalized our first draft. On Friday, I received the consolidated version. So over the summer break, it will be revised, and our target is to have the publication in November of the updated SRIA. One element which is quite unique for the Clean Steel Partnership compared to other co-programs is that we have two financial funding pillars The one obviously is Horizonte Europe, and we have as well on an equal footing contributions from the assets from the research fund for coal and steel, which is something like the grandfather pillar of the European Union. And to also make it clear, we have the Clean Steel Partnership, and that's an open partnership. Whoever is eligible according to the regulations for Horizonte Europe or RFCS can participate, provide an appealing proposal, and receive funding. There is no membership required, even it doesn't exist. You cannot become member of the Clean Steel Partnership. And to make it clear, STEP is facilitating the private side of the partnership, and STEP allows membership. And there are some elements which are beneficial for the members. So we have dedicated events for our members, and also the discussions with the public side are facilitated by STEP. And then in these meetings with the public side, STEP members discuss with the Commission. And an important element, of course, is to agree with the public side on the most impactful call text to decarbonize the steel industry. And this is an introduction of the STEP members. You can see we are talking about steel, and the membership is reasonably broad. Of course, we have all the steel producers in Europe as members, and also the Eurofair as the biggest sponsor of STEP, the European Steel Association. But we also have the plant builders and the technology providers, gas suppliers, research organization, universities, and a good coverage of the various countries. And STEP is existing long before the Clean Steel Partnership materialized, and we have a life, so to speak, before, in addition to the partnership, and also after. And since 2018, we are a legal entity. And here you can see a good number of activities we are providing. And the main approach is to do the activities in large synergy with our Clean Steel Partnership activities. So for instance, if we are organizing thematic mini conferences on behalf of STEP, we always look into the challenging and appealing topics which are on the agenda of the Clean Steel Partnership, and the projects are invited, and future candidates are then also organized in these mini conferences to prepare the project consortia generation. And the next big meeting we are having is almost next to many of the participants, I assume, because our annual event will take place in October on the topic of circular economy from the steel perspective in Barcelona. And the organization is a typical one of STEP, the General Assembly, a very small board of directors, only for people. And to illustrate the two roles, so the technology platform with our focus groups, as well as the implementation group, which facilitates all elements in regard to the partnership. And you can see we don't have a dedicated structure for acting, supporting the Clean Steel Partnership, but we will use the STEP organization in as good synergies as we can. And we like to be very open and transparent. So all members are directly member of the steering group, as well as member of the implementation group, the central body. So any member receives all the information we have within STEP. And the next level then is, of course, to have the organizational body for the partnership. And this is very similar, like we've just heard, for Processes for Planet. So in the partnership, both the private side and the public side meet And we have the main representatives, DG RTD and GROW, and depending on the topic, other units join. And here you see the private side. And regularly, we are also reaching out to the general public who are not member of STEP or not member of the partnership board, at least twice a year. And let's look a little more into detail. What does it mean with the Clean Steel partnership? The first one I already said, we have the two financial pillars. The size of the partnership is 1.7 billion, and here you can see the breakdown. So 350 million from Horizonte Europe, same amount from RFCS. And this is at least matched by the private side, but we already committed to outpace this, summing up to the 1.7 billion. And our focus is to have a high impact with our projects. So therefore, we really like to go for large size projects, and particularly to high technology readiness levels. So we know that going to TRL 8 is a challenge, but the higher the TRL, the higher is the impact. And we all know that time is running, and if we want to mitigate the temperature increase, we really have not to do research, but we have to have large size, full industrial scale solutions implemented. So therefore, the very important outcome of the partnership is these two sets of demonstrators at TRL 8, the one in the middle of the partnership demonstrating 50% CO2 emission reduction, and at the end of the partnership, at least 80% CO2 emission reduction. And how do we do this? So we have something like three pathways. The one is carbon direct avoidance, meaning we don't use carbon anymore, but switch to hydrogen and or electricity. The second is smart carbon usage, meaning we may continue to use carbon, but do it in a smart way, meaning further optimizing our processes so that the generated process gases containing CO and CO2 are lower, and then we are not emitting these gases, but capturing them, and then either utilization or storage options come in place. And of course, everything is complemented by the important concept of circular economy. And this is the visualization of this. Here you see again these three parts, which is also fully compliant with the industry perspective presented by Eurofair, so the Steel Producers Association. And that's how the companies really can master the transformation challenge. And how do we do in the partnership to generate research projects? So we translated these company pathways in so-called building blocks. In the lower right part, you see our 12 building blocks. So for instance, just to give one example on gas injection, this is a possible research topic which can be supportive for a couple of these company pathways. And a core topic, of course, can be composed of more than one building block. And what have we achieved then? Let's look into the projects we have granted in the first year of the Clean Steel Partnership. So I also like to mention that's a new partnership. We don't have a predecessor. And you see the distinction between Horizonte Europe and RFCS. You see the title of the call topics. And we have, as of now, 14 running projects. Here you see that in total, we received for the 14 projects more than 70 million euros of funding. And I'm emphasizing on the running projects because that's in particular for newcomers an excellent case study. What kind of activities have been successful in regard to Clean Steel Partnership funding? What kind of approach and contribution from the various partners is provided in the project, and how can a call topic be addressed and translated into a successful project because it is selected for funding. So I think that's for newcomers an excellent learning opportunity. And the second approach, of course, is to join the community of STEP, where dedicated support is also provided. And in order to walk the talk, we of course also analyze the project's contribution to our building blocks, and you see this in this matrix. And as of now, we can see that all the building blocks have been already addressed in the first wave of the 14 projects, with a different frequency, of course, and that's a point for discussion when we are sitting together, for instance, with the public side, defining future calls. And in regard to the current year, the projects project proposals are submitted, but the result is not yet known. We can see here the situation for Horizonte Europe and RFCS. And for RFCS, for instance, we've had an outstanding positive situation that a funding envelope for 130 million euros was available for the RFCS projects. And in regard to the topics, we have two topics in Horizonte Europe. And in RFCS, I'd like to spend a little more time because that may be less known and easy understandable for you. In RFCS, we have only one call, and this call is composed of 5 call objectives. And a project, a proposal, may address one of this call objective or the combination of 2 of the objectives. And our idea is to have the high TRLs, TRL 8, I mean, covered by RFCS Big Ticket, and then TRL 7, if possible, also TRL 8 in Horizonte Europe. And in Horizonte Europe, we have always the dedicated call topics, while in RFCS, we like to continue with a more bottom-up approach, which is the characteristic anyhow of RFCS, so that these topics stay year by year. And I'm happy to share such information with you, but of course the final decision is always the one officially provided by the dedicated tools. So therefore, if you want to find it, please go to the funding tender portal, and the Horizonte Europe calls you realize by searching for the Clean Steel Partnership, and there are 2 calls in next year. And if you want to find the RFCS supporting call, then you need to type big tickets for steel, and you can see the 24 topic is not defined yet. Nevertheless, on this slide, I'd like to show the state of play, so to speak. In Horizonte Europe, of course, it's defined, the work program is published. So we have a digital topic, because also digitalization is very important for steel in next year. And in the topic 46, we are covering 2 aspects. Again, CO2 neutral steel production using hydrogen and other carbon carriers, as well as electricity. And we are also very pleased to have a call supporting innovative steel applications, because it's also important that we continue to improve the performance of steel to empower our customers. And you can see that the call objectives in regard to RFCS Big Ticket are as planning status meant to continue. And we are planning to add also cross-cutting issues, again emphasizing on digitalization, to have the empowerment of the workforce, so working on skills and social innovation as well. And what processes do we have in mind? This is something like an overview of today's steel producing technologies, including our understanding of the midterm, meaning 2040, and long-term transformation. So I don't want to switch now to a steel lecture, but I'd like to spend maybe half a minute on this part here. So we start with iron ore in the famous blast furnace, and then we have the melting shop. And tomorrow we will have more and more direct reduction furnaces, which can be easily operated with high levels up to 100% of hydrogen. So that was well-known technology. And just in the course of this decarbonization discussions, when we've also started with a partnership, in our first strategic research innovation agenda, this middle path didn't exist. And in the meantime, there is a new facility created, the so-called primary melter. There are many other names existing, which likes to allow to use the new direct reduction unit, but to further process the outcome so that the existing melt shop can be used. And I think that's a very impressive example that research instruments are important to bring the heads together and start working. And only if you work, new ideas are generated. And I think that's a very impressive example. And as I've said, we are aiming to have a high impact. So therefore, we are well aware of the company projects. This is a slide generated by Eurofair showing the company projects. Some of them supported by the partnership, but many are privately financed, national finance, or financed by the Innovation Fund. And you can see that the number of sites is countable. It's still a large number, but it's countable. And at the same time, the needs for the first wave of these something like 60 projects is large. So 31 billion capex need and operational needs with these electricity and or hydrogen prices is almost double the size than the capex cost. And we like to emphasize also that yes, we are technology orientated and like to provide solutions in our Clean Steel Partnership project, accelerating the pathway towards climate neutrality. And at the same time, we are fully committed to provide the full holistic approach. So therefore, we are also very intensively looking into our contributions, our possible contributions to these sustainable development goals. And here you can see the green 5 highlighted, where we consider a significant contribution also coming from the Clean Steel Partnership. And the elements, of course, are obvious. So CO2 emission reduction, competitiveness, strengthening the global leadership. Therefore, it's important that we have the plant builders, the research organizations, and the producers in our community, continuing resource and energy efficiency, and of course, have the people on board look not only to the technology improvement, but also how this can be executed by the people. And the summary of all what I've said is put in this visual. You have our areas of intervention, translating on the timeline into the first demonstrators with a 50% CO2 emission reduction target, and later on the green ones aiming at least 80% CO2 emission reduction. This is all about the Clean Steel Partnership. And as I've said, I'm very happy to take any questions from you now. You may further visit our website, SDEP.EU, or send an email to me to stay in contact. Okay. Thank you very much for your
Perfect. Thank you so much, Klaus. Nieves, as you want. In the meanwhile, we don't have any question by the moment. I think that is a very good information, quite complete, really. And also we see that there is a lot of events happening after summer. So yeah, plenty of things and places to attend for the participants.
So thank you, Klaus, for this presentation. There's a lot of information in the slides, so we have to read this carefully and learn more about it. I would like to make a couple of questions if there are no questions from the audience. First of all, thank you for mentioning the RFCS, the Research Fund for Carbon and Steel, because there was a bit of confusion at the beginning of the Horizon Europe, because some understood that maybe these calls were going to finish and they was going to be replaced by the Clean Steel Partnership, but these calls are intended to continue in parallel with the partnership, I understand. And my question was, are there any, you mentioned that the RFCS are more bottom-up, but are there any other differences so the audience can have more clear, if, for example, in the size of the projects or the TRLs or?
Yes, thank you for the question. So the first element I'd like to confirm, we have the so-called RFCS annual call, which is visualized on the right side. We have this 40 million coal and steel together. And this continues annually. The deadline is always September, while Clean Steel Partnership call may vary. As of now, it happens to be in May. And here you see the big tickets for steel funding. Precise number is 52, so it's a little higher than 50 million. On average. And the annual call is described in the RFCS legal basis. And here we have almost all topics of steel included. I only know about 2 areas which are not covered and not eligible for funding. The one is 3D printing. So additive manufacturing is not eligible for funding, and foundry technologies. They are also not part of the RFCS community, but all other elements in in steel, downstream, upstream, also very customer-orientated projects, so steel applications are fully in scope here in RFCS annual call. And they continue, there you see the big yellow plus.
Okay, thank you very much. And another question for about the strategic research and innovation agenda, the updated one that you are going to publish by the end of the year. I understand the conversations and discussions have already started. So I would like to ask if you foresee any change in the direction and any new focus in the direction of the partnership.
So the focus stays on the acceleration towards climate neutrality, and the main starting points, so carbon direct avoidance, smart carbon usage, and circular economy as the main lines continue. But we will add some more details. So one example I gave with this primary melter, and we also realized that the role of digitization was underestimated in our first sphere. So there it was mentioned as an enabler with maybe just one paragraph. And in the updated version, we will have a dedicated chapter on digitization as well as on social innovation. And of course, once we have a little consolidated version generated by STEP, we of course will also go for public consultation with various stakeholders and also have a web-based public consultation. And we are looking forward to receive good comments from our stakeholders.
Thank you very much. And the last one for a newcomer, someone that is not familiar with these calls or with a step, what would be the way of contacting you? It would be writing to you or going to one? Is there the events are open, or some of the events are open to the general public, or maybe in the website?
Most of our events are open. So if I go back to this slide, you see here many of our events. So our dissemination event in Pisa in March this year was an open event. Our innovation days in Krakow were open to everyone. The Circular Economy Conference is also open. So that's one opportunity. Of course, you also can send an email to me, and I'm happy to share information with any interested member, interested organization to become member.
Okay, thank you very much. So then the next event would be in Barcelona in October, I understood.
Yes.
Excellent.
And then the publication of our SRIA is already fixed. It will be on the 14th of November, and this will happen in Brussels.
Okay, super. Just to remember that also 4-5 October in Malaga is the EU Industry Days. So full of activity in October this year, all the days, all the weeks. Okay, thank you so much, Klaus. It's a pleasure. Thank you for the detailed information. Thank you, Nieves, for the clarification, because sure that this sort of questions will come out to our participants. And with that, thank you so much, Klaus. And allow me to give the floor to our last speaker, but Chris de Coover, who is going to enlighten us with the last partnership related with the industrial part of Cluster 4, which is one of the let's say ancient partnerships evolved from Horizon 2020 already into Horizon Europe, which is Made in Europe partnership. Thank you so much, and the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Marina. Thanks, colleagues, and thanks for having me at this event. So yes, indeed, Factories of the Future partnership started under FP7, the second half of FP7. And it continued under Horizon 20. Now, Made in Europe is the name of the partnership that you can see as a continuation of the Factories of the Future partnership under Horizon Europe. And yeah, well, it's an ongoing partnership. So there's projects, there's quite a portfolio available, and we're looking forward about the next steps for sure. Within the work program 25-27, I will come back to that, and beyond, obviously, as well. So project portfolio, just to tell you that, well, the slides will be made available through the organizers. There's embedded links in the slides, so even clicking on the picture here within the slides that you will get will bring you to the EFRA Innovation Portal, which provide you the overview of the projects within these particular calls. So starting in 2010 with 4 calls under FP7, and then Horizon 2020, and now 2 calls, 21-22, where the projects have started. The 23 call, well, the proposals are under evaluation, and I will come back to the opportunities offered by the 24 call. So overall, as the previous colleagues pointed out, a partnership, well, EFRA is there to represent the private side, the research and innovation community, including RTOs, academics, vis-a-vis the European Commission in terms of pointing at the particular priorities that are important to target. And in return, since we have some advice to give there, we also have some duties in terms of, following up projects on program level and providing information on program level. I will come back to that as well. But this is actually the overall framework of the program as defined in Made in Europe, but you will see a lot of items that have been around in the previous programs, because just to tell you about the first one that you see in the middle stack there, excellence, responsiveness, smart factories and supply chains. This is, of course, a red line throughout the whole program. With respect to environmental sustainability, it has been on the program since the start, basically. But what we see, of course, is that circularity has really gained a lot of importance within the last couple of years, coupled also to the digitalization aspect, the point of gathering information about products and processes. So I will come back to that as well. So this is really an evolution that, with respect to climate neutral environmental sustainability, the circular aspect is of importance. A third one in the middle stack there, which points to the product service approach, is a special one that we highlighted a bit more in this area, because it is important, and it has been pointed out by previous speakers as well, that also the non-technological part is important in order, we talk a lot about the value added in manufacturing, the value add of digitalization, of what to do with the data and how the data brings value to the different partners involved. So this is a very important point. And last but not least, the human-centeredness in manufacturing and the human-driven manufacturing innovation side of it is also an important one. On the right-hand side, we see a lot of enablers, a lot of technologies, from the hardcore manufacturing technologies, the machines embedding sensors, embedding processors, so really mechatronic systems, robotic systems, intelligent systems, now also intelligent demanufacturing systems, disassembly systems. So we're talking about manufacturing and re-and demanufacturing, and of course embedded by, but also surrounded by the different stacks of digitalization solutions, from simulation and modeling, and real-time communication, including now, for instance, 5G implementations, data analytics, artificial intelligence, a big word as well in our community, of course. And then, of course, the business-oriented aspect, pointing at the skilled workforce also as a very important enabler. So standards is mentioned there as well, because of the diversity. It's a very diverse program already as such, but the diversity in manufacturing standards plays a big role, not only from the data perspective, but of course the data perspective added a lot of importance to this. So we're evolving within Made in Europe. 2 calls where projects have started, 21, 22, 23 in evaluation, 24, where we are now pointing at with respect to the nearest opportunities. On our website, you would find a page where referring to the calls that were published actually at once. 23, 24 were published as once, so you were known. So I think there's been a couple of months already that the community has been looking at the 24 communities. So this is an ongoing process, of course, the consortium building, the networking around it. I just would like to emphasize a bit the particularities of the calls that are open now. Manufacturing as a service, the 103 of 24, technologies for customized, flexible and decentralized production on demand. There has been actually also a manufacturing as a service, a call under the 23 call, which was probably a bit more value network oriented. The manufacturing on demand paradigm is always there in this call as well. However, here the pointer to the technologies, what the machines are able to do in terms of being more flexible, being more reconfigurable in order to cope with changes in demand. So the machines themselves, the production systems as a system have to evolve, and this also is a crucial enabler for the resilience, the flexibility of value networks. So there's a more mixed approach in this call topic to this aspect. Then there's again a pointer to circularity. In the previous calls, circularity was also already addressed. And both from, I could say, the manufacturing system side as from the digital side, the tools you would need. Now, this call topic, technology solutions to support circularity for manufacturing, is really putting quite some attention to notions like the digital product passport, you know, the ability to track what is happening with a product. I think certainly, you know, in discrete manufacturing, circularity is a lot about maintaining functionality of products along their life cycle, upgrading even functionality of their products. Then if there's a need for disassembly, to see what can be done with different components as near as possible to the functionality that they already had, and then to close the loops in a wider way, and in the end come to secondary materials, which can be used then as feedstock to other production value networks. But it's really closing the loop in these different phases that is important. And that's also where this call topic is focusing at, to develop the technologies to know what's happened with the product, to know what the potential function of a product can be, to use AI for this, to use simulation and modeling for this, to use notions as asset administration shell from the different perspective to this. So this is how this call topic is looking at that. And then the third one, it's a topic on biointelligent manufacturing industries. There's been a topic on biointelligent also in the first two calls, the 21-22. For Made in Europe. It's a bit, you know, a particular type of call topics, because we were not so used to have, you know, the bio perspective explicitly in Made in Europe. There's also bio related program, another partnership going on. So also for the future, we're actually looking to how we see to position the bio particularly within the programs. This topic is, if you would see the call topic text, you would see the bio-based products is one aspect that has been considered, but also the bio-intelligent enabled systems, like bio-inspired mechanisms. You can think of sensors that use bio mechanisms. This is also considered. So there's a bit of a dual approach in this call topic, whereas the previous one is rather more focusing on the bio materials in products and what's the implication for manufacturing of the products that are composed of biomaterials. So there's a bit of a different opportunity as well in this call topic. Okay, considering that, you know, we have this progress of the project portfolio, so to say, I thought in these handouts also for you and this presentation, I point to some particular call topics that can provide already some insight in how current projects are addressing these targets. For instance, there's the topic, the 21 topic, Transition 07, where on artificial intelligence for sustainable agile manufacturing, with projects like Circular Train, SXAP, and IDS, where, you know, the strong, you know, example of twin transition, the digital and the green, is being exemplified by these projects. Also, of course, looking into how AI can be integrated in the circular manufacturing. Another one is digital tools to support engineering of a circular economy of 22, where recently started projects that are listed here. And you see already in the titles, like auto twin, data-driven method based on process mining, pros for automated digital twin generation. So automated digital twin generation. So really the technologies to establish the digital twins that will make the circular processes or the circular value chains more operational. You need a lot of knowledge to know how a project, how a product evolves and what's the potential for a product components in circular value chains. So there's a lot of you know, digital technologies involved in how these supply chains would work, and a lot of engineering, hardcore engineering knowledge that needs to be used. It's maybe I should say there, it's not just about data mining as such. It's really about embedding the knowledge how products work into the digital simulation tools, etc., and then, you know, take the decision support from it in a very knowledgeable way, not in a, you know, black box way. So I think this is a very important characteristic also of some of the projects that are done. And I think it's very helpful, particularly with respect to the bio-based materials, bio-inspired manufacturing topics, that there's already a group of projects from the 21 call, and that can help definitely for newcomers to understand what type of projects are around in this area, because it's a bit a new area. So please feel free to have a look at these projects to see how these projects are handling the topics. There's been some projects on the Factories of the Future as well from the 18 and the 19 call, and I thought I refer to them particularly that focus either on digitalization from the digital platform point of view with respect to quality, which is still an important target. But there's one, for instance, here that's in the middle here, DigiPrime, Digital Platform for Circular Economy in Cross-Sectorial Sustainable Value Networks, which is now a very mature project. It's actually in the finishing cycles that really provides already a good insights into, the potential of circular economy. For instance, there's some demonstrators, some pilots there. One is in the battery area, where batteries that are used in mobility systems in cars and trucks, for instance, can be fed back into the mobility applications, but could also be fed back into energy supplies for buildings, for instance. And it's this type of evaluation of systems and the processes you need to to adapt some products that will circular economy work across different sectors, across different value networks, and that's where the challenge also lies, to make circular economy work across different value networks. So there's a legacy of projects that we can build on. To maybe address another part as a part of a conclusion of my presentation, I thought indeed to reflect back to the roadmap and to the analysis also that we're doing in terms of how this ASRIA, the Strategic Research Innovation Agenda, has been covered by the projects that are ongoing. And of course, we know that with the two calls, 23, 24, there will be more filling, the coverage of the ASRIA. So the research and innovation objectives that you see on this chart, we've associated call topics to these research and innovation objectives to have an appreciation of which projects are addressing particular points. Why we are doing this? Well, of course, it provides some insight into the overall program, but also because we would like to see the 25, 27 call topics to really be, developed in the most, smart way, so to say, about, what do we have in the pipeline from all these projects that are already out there. So similar to different other partnerships, we have an open consultation, which is still open, actually, it's still going on. We will have the final deadline in the beginning of September, where we created a document that I will not go into details, obviously, there's no time for this here, but to go through a set of priorities that, of course, link to what I've said before. It links to what's going on in previous call topics, but that will provide the next phase of Made in Europe, and which provides the stakeholders, you as a framework, to provide what you think is important and why you think it is important. So from the excellence perspective, with the need for automation, the need for value network resilience, the link to circular manufacturing, we go along the scope of the ASRIA with some particular priorities. I thought I'd just emphasize this one here because also it's a bit particular one. The importance of manufacturing, to have the strategic manufacturing processes in place to serve actually the production sectors of key products, like products in the green tech sector, like what I mentioned just before, like the batteries, windmills, hydrogen systems, solar panels, so the green tech, but other perhaps not necessarily marked as the green ones, but for instance, societal sectors like the medical, the health, etc. So the ability to really serve those sectors, and that also means being resilient as Europe, to really have the manufacturing processes to master them for those strategic product sectors in Europe. That's also being marked there as one particular priority. Going through also, of course, the service aspect with respect to using the data. Again, quick response service deployment towards the manufacturing companies, and to make the companies, comfortable with, the data exchange between manufacturing equipment suppliers, other data analyst companies, for instance, to see how that will work in a more, diverse ecosystem of service suppliers as well. So you are warmly invited to go through these priorities and to say from your perspective what you find important and particularly why, and to comment these points. There's two perspectives. There's one from the expert stakeholder perspective, the organization perspective, your company, so to say, your research organization, or even the projects that you're involved in, where you say, there's a particular project that I'm involved in, and that's very much already building the building blocks for certain of these aspects. Now, that can be the ones that are in the Made in Europe or Factories of Future portfolio, but could be other projects, also regional projects. So please let us know also if you're involved in other projects, that we can put them on the portal, the EFRA Innovation portal. The consultation is run through the EFRA Innovation portal, so you can also associate your ongoing work with the priorities that we are doing the consultation about. So there's a whole explanation about this on the website. And finally, just to say that there's a lot of demonstrators in the projects. There's like in each project like 5 use cases, sometimes even 10, depending on the size. This is a crucial thing. And I think it also can help many of the organizations that are building on new ideas to check out what demonstrators are out there in the projects. And this is also part of our duty towards the European Commission to formate in Europe to map those demonstrators on particular KPI aspects, like which one deal with particularly the human aspects in manufacturing, which one deal with circular aspects, and so that the portfolio not only of projects, but also of the demonstrators themselves become more visible. So we're doing a lot of information gathering around that. I will not go into detail here. Have a look at our website also with respect to these aspects, and follow up what is of interest to you. You can get, of course, in touch with us if you have any other questions about this. And with this, I thank you for your attention.
Okay, excellent, Chris, and thank you so much for highlighting that the demonstrate is key in all of these 3 partnerships. Nieves.
So thank you, Chris. It was a really good presentation with the details of the topics and the explanation. That is really, it was really insightful. I mean, that helps a lot. I would like to point out also that, Made in Europe is really a successful partnership, an old partnership, because we also consider Factories of the Future, so a very old partnership with a big portfolio, as we have seen. And I would like to also reflect that all the information that we have in the website of EFRA, that we can look at it. And also, you mentioned the open consultation that is open. And I would also like to remind that the webinars that you did are also, we can also check it, the presentations and the videos. So I would like to let the participants know. So
thanks for pointing out that, yes. So we did webinars to launch the consultation. These are also available to the wide public. So yeah, thanks for pointing that.
Yes, I think this is a very good, transparent exercise. So I would like to highlight this. And I would also like to ask you if you are planning some events for after the summer, maybe you can tell us about.
Well, we do a manufacturing partnership day with a lot of projects involving a lot of people. There's 2 aspects to this. There's bringing projects together also to make them aware of what they're doing, so that also when building up further on their project, they can see where the synergies lie. So there's also one aspect. So this is an event where we will bring a lot of project people together, also other peoples of interest. Now it's not widely public event as such, because we will be in danger of having an oversubscription, and therefore if you have an extra interest, please let us know. But it's the point is there to really bring people involved in projects together, and people with a very close interest to it. And it's a physical event, so we will have to just cope with managing the logistics there. There are some other events that Marina mentioned, like the EU in Research and Innovation Days, where EFRA will have a presence. There will be workshops organized by EFRA at events. So there's quite a range of events like that, also planned on by the European Commission, where there will be a presence. With respect to bigger public events, there's not a big one scheduled yet. We had one in September last year with the European Manufacturing Conference. So we will probably do some more online events before at the end of the year. For instance, the consultation will close beginning of September. We will come back to that. That's, of course, the matter of keeping the community aware of what happened with that consultation. So that's the type of, it's not the big event approach for now, but more keeping people posted about what's happening and engaging.
Okay. Yeah, that will be very useful. Thank you. So we have a question from the audience, so I'm going to read it. With regards to Made in Europe, can Chris elaborate the role of regions within the partnership?
Okay. Well, already what I can indicate is that many of the players, either within the project or EFRA members, many of them are key players on a national regional scene. So I think from the content point of view, the interaction of what is important, what are important priorities, that makes that there's already a very good flow of priorities that are collected by the regional players towards EFRA. And this is a kind of interplay, because since we collect this on a European level, there's a kind of inspiration back to the regions about what can be done. This is something we noticed over the years. So many of the RTOs are engaged in, the IFRMS projects that we knew. Well, now the last best batch of IFRMS project has been started within Made in Europe. It looks like there will not be similar type of calls within Made in Europe. There's the Digital Europe program with the activities around digital innovation hubs, where it's our community, if I can say that, is very engaged in this. So there's really a very close interplay with the Made in Europe activities and what's happening with the digital innovation hubs, just because of the fact that these organizations are the key organizations in it. So from that point of view, that's the operational side of things. It's not that Made in Europe, the calls are now oriented towards DIH implementation, because there's another program for it, basically.
Okay, thank you very much.
Super. So no, I would like to highlight that all the three partnerships that we have talked today, they are very strengths linked. They have very strength linked with the regions, in the sense that most of them are needs of demonstrators that has to be located somewhere. And they are demonstrating things that afterwards, to put it in place and to put it in operational, they need huge investments. Sometimes these investments are coming from the private sector, but most of the times are coming for partnership with the region, with the local government, because it means a number of jobs for the city, for the region. So it's important that all the projects will be target, for instance, recovery funds or structural funds or any other investments in the regions and the cities as well. So, bueno, con esto, si acaso finalizaremos aquí esta sesión que hemos centrado en la parte más industrial. del programa y del pilar 2 de Horizon Europe. I would like to thank all the 3 speakers and my colleague Nieves for being all the time here with us along this 1 hour and a half, 1 hour 45 minutes today, explaining what about the partnership related with the most industrial part of Horizon Europe cluster 4. And yes, thank you, Chris, thank you, Klaus, thank you, Ángels, y muchas gracias, Nieves, por estar aquí haciendo de convener de la sesión y lanzando preguntas que posiblemente nuestros participantes pues agradecerán y revisarán el vídeo. Continuando con estos webinarios, pues simplemente querría anunciar la próxima sesión que tendrá lugar el lunes de la semana que viene. Se centrará, es ya la última temática, que es la parte de ICT del clúster 4. Aquí pues contaremos también con la colaboración de nuestros compañeros desde CDTI Madrid para ilustrarnos sobre esta parte muy importante dentro de lo que es Horizon Europe y las conexiones no solo con los partnerships, que es el foco principal de la sesión del próximo lunes, sino también con otros programas paralelos y sinérgicos a programa marco, algunos de los cuales ya han sido, digamos, puntualizados tanto por los speakers de hoy como por otras presentaciones que hemos visto a lo largo de estas 10 semanas. Como siempre, quería comentar pues, que el registro estará abierto entre esta tarde y mañana para que podáis asistir a la sesión en directo y se cierra a las 9 del día 17 de julio. Todas las presentaciones, tanto las de esta sesión como las de las otras sesiones de esta temporada, las podéis encontrar en la página de eventos de CDTI y los vídeos los podéis visualizar tantas veces como queráis en el canal de YouTube de CDTI. Bueno, sin más, pues quería recordar pues, que estos webinarios son posibles gracias a la colaboración de todos los compañeros de la División de Programa Marco de CDTI, desde CDTI Madrid y desde aquí de la SOST en Bruselas. Y gracias también a todos los speakers, tanto de la comisión, como habéis visto, asociaciones que son los principales stakeholders de estas iniciativas paralelas y que se han prestado a acompañarnos durante todas estas semanas. Sin más, agradeceros a todos vuestra asistencia y nos vemos el próximo lunes 17 de julio, como siempre, a las 11 desde aquí de la SOS en Bruselas. Gracias.